What it do to? Scotty back at you with another edition of As the Basketball Turns. Tales from the Crypto. Yeah, man. Now, when we last left the soap opera at the Palace, formerly known as Staples Center, now the Crypto.com arena, our heroes, the Lakers, were struggling on the struggle bus in the midst of a 3-game losing streak. And coming to town, the San Antonio Spurs, struggling themselves with a 12-18 record. But the Lakers, now back to 516-16, needing a get-right game to get back on the winning track. Could they get it against the Spurs? Well, let's get right to the action. Now, the starting five will be LBJ, the King, Russ, THT, Dwight Howard, and the Duke, Ellington. Frankie V remains away from the team health and safety protocols. Dale will handle the head coaching duties. And right away, 30 seconds into the game, 30 seconds in, first quarter, Russ opens the game with a horrific turnover on the Lakers' first possession, something he would repeat coming out of halftime to start the third quarter. But LeBron James, the King, showing no lingering ill effects from that turned ankle the game before, looks good early. He's got energy. He's shooting 3 for 3 from the field. But Russ looks shaky early, and the Lakers are being outplayed, out-hustled by the more energetic Spurs. And being out-rebounded, the Lakers trail by 9 to end the first quarter, and there's that sinking feeling. Not again. Not here we go again. Now we're midway through the second quarter, and the San Antonio lead has swelled to 13 points. But the King is doing his best, trying to keep the Lakers close. LeBron's got 20 points with 6.5 minutes to play in the second quarter. But San Antonio is screen rolling the Lakers to death, just pick and rolling them to pieces. But LeBron, rested, comes back in late in the first half. And with the assistance of a spunky Melo, the Lakers make a run. They show some fight back, but in the end can only cut the lead to 11. And so at halftime, the Lakers are down double digits. And the same old issues are plaguing them. Energy issues. They're being out-hustled. They're being out-rebounded, playing porous defense. They're shooting poorly. The turnovers. At the half, the Lakers have 9 turnovers, down 11. And then Russ, just like he opened the first, with another horrific turnover. So now that's 10 Laker turnovers. And every time the Lakers try to make a run, San Antonio is right there with a block shot or a 3. And the question keeps echoing in my brain. Why are all these sub-500 teams able to run the Lakers? Why are the Lakers failing? And it's not close, really. It's miserable failure, dismal failure, glaring, blatant, obvious failure. Why? The reason the Lakers are this bad, the reason they have trouble beating anybody, the NBA is a young man's game. And the Lakers are old. And that's really just what it is. These are old dudes by NBA standards. And we knew this from the beginning. LeBron and Russ and Carmelo, Dwight and Rondo, Trevor Ariza. First thought I had was, it's not an all-star team for the ages. This is an all-star team for the aged. It's an aged collection of former superstars. Now are in their twilight of their professional NBA career. These are guys, when you talk about people like Melo or Russ, these are guys who, they may not have any championships, but they've got a lot of accolades. They've got a lot of money. They've put a lot of miles, basketball miles, on their bodies. They're going to be surefire, first ballot Hall of Famers. And they're up in years. And so, while Russ is not as far up the 30 tree as the rest of the gang, you've got a collection of aged all-stars who, let's be honest about it, may really feel like they don't have that much left to prove. How long have these guys been millionaires, most of them? Quite a while now. That takes the edge off. So you've got older, Hall of Fame worthy millionaire ballers trying to run with 21, 22, 23-year-old kids fresh out of their circumstances with maybe all of 1 year under their belt. Some maybe just trying to make it into the league. These guys are hungry. They're young. They are trying to make a name for themselves, trying to prove that they belong. So you got a team full of youngsters playing for San Antonio who are trying to prove that they belong in the NBA. And you got a group of guys for the Lakers who've been there and done that. And it shows. That's why they can pick and roll you to death. That's why you can't make those defensive rotations. The want to just isn't as high anymore. You're wealthy. You've got multi-generational wealth. You're accomplished. People love you. Your jerseys sell all over the world. You're known. You're recognized all over the planet. Hard to sit in a chair and try and stay in front of 23-year-olds who are starving, who are hungry, who are young lions. And so night in and night out, the Lakers are running up against this kind of a dynamic. Either that, with the sub-500 teams, or they're running into, and they're going to continue now, as the season progresses, to run into more and more legitimately good teams. The Golden States and the Phoenixes, the Utahs, and These teams, while they may have a veteran presence, a veteran component, these teams are legitimately quality basketball teams. So they're going to have trouble with the good veteran teams. They're going to have trouble with the young sub 500 teams. They're going to have trouble with everybody. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it hit me like a lightning bolt. There is no on switch for these Lakers, I'm afraid. It is what it is. And they are who their record says they are. And that's not going to change. And there's nobody coming to save them. And if the king, LeBron James, can't save them, nobody can. But LeBron, well, he'll be 37 here in a couple of days. 37. He's your best player. He's playing high minutes now, and in LeBron's last 8 games, he's averaging well over 30 points. He's leading the league in scoring over the last 8 games. And they're 3-5 in those games. So he can't lift them anymore like the king once could. So it's what we knew all along with these Lakers. They're old. And the only thing that's going to change about that is they're just going to get older. So I think the die is cast for this team and for this season. San Antonio was up by 13 to start the fourth quarter. The Lakers shot 57% from the free throw line. 57% from the free throw line. I'm struggling to find a category that the Lakers are good in. They're abysmal shooting free throws. They're abysmal shooting three-pointers. They don't defend. They get routinely out-rebounded. They are near the top of the league in turnovers. Midway through the fourth quarter, San Antonio was blowing the Lakers out their own building. The lead was up to 20. Coach Fizdale pulled LBJ. Time of death, 5 minutes, 30 seconds into the fourth quarter. They were done. LBJ had 36 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, his third consecutive 30-plus point game. Russ had 30 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. He had 5 ugly turnovers. If you dig a little deeper into the numbers, the San Antonio bench scored 69 points. 69 Spurs bench points to 20 for the Lakers. 69 San Antonio. Winnie Lakers. One of San Antonio's bench players, a fellow by the name Bates Diop, happened to go 11 for 11 from the field against the Lakers for 30 points. I believe Bates Diop was averaging less than 4 points a game up until he saw the Lakers. San Antonio shot 8 14 of 39 from three, and they're one of the fewest three-point taking teams in the NBA. But they took 39 against the Lakers and hit 18 of them. Meanwhile, the Lakers were 5 for 27 from three. And so there you have it, 138-110, another blowout loss. And the Lakers now riding a 4-game losing streak. The Lakers look shot. They look cooked. They look befuddled. LA is struggling in every facet of the game. The Lakers gave up 60-plus points to a struggling Spurs team in the first half and followed that up with 70-plus points allowed to this team in the second half. And next up, Brooklyn Nets on Christmas Day. And let me stop right here and wish all of you a very happy holiday season. Not going to let the dismal product on display at the crypto put a sour mood on our holiday festivities. So, hope you're having a safe, happy, and healthy holiday season, and I wish you good tidings for a prosperous new year. Come on, 2022. I'm looking forward to see it. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. So, into town roll the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, without Kevin Durant, who, as it turns out, is in health and safety protocol. So this COVID thing is just running rampant all across the NBA. And you say, well, the Lakers are struggling and they really can't beat anybody, but the Nets don't have their main guy. And the Lakers got the king. Maybe they got a chance, right? The LA starting five for the Christmas Day tilt. The king, LBJ, Ron, THT, Dwight, and the Duke, Ellington. Fizz will coach again. Frankie V remains in health and safety protocol. Early on, almost right out the gate, once again, Roz making the turnover presence felt. I see Brooklyn hasn't played in the past week. Thank you, COVID. And yet, short-handed, they come to town on Christmas and take an early 11-point lead on the Lakers. And despite the Lakers hitting their free throws early for a change, and despite Brooklyn being out of rhythm, and you could see it, there were a number of air balls they threw up early, the Nets still lead the Lakers by 15 after 1. This is in large part thanks to 11 Brooklyn points off 7 first quarter Laker turnovers. And so here we go again. Groundhog damn day all over again. But the Lakers finally wake up and they go on an 11-0 run and cut the lead from 17 down to 6. And I see Fizz is playing the newcomers, the youngsters. He's playing Johnson, for example, and playing them fairly significant minutes. And this suggests to me that Fizdale recognizes what I have come to see, that the Lakers need youthful energy, that young legs are running circles around the old Lakers. And so these 10-day contract guys, these COVID replacement call-ups, these are youthful legs. And so Fizdale's thinking, let me interject some energy into this mix. Worth a try. LeBron starting these games early with a flourish. He's giving a good burst to get out of the gate. But what seems to happen is that by the third, fourth quarter, LeBron slows down. There seems to be a pattern. And the Lakers find themselves trailing the Brooklyn Nets shorthanded without Kevin Durant by 20. 20 to start the fourth quarter. Another blowout looming. Now, with 7:30 to play in regulation, LA goes on a 17-0 run and cuts the lead down to 6. Brooklyn is ice cold now. 6 minutes to go in regulation. Stanley Johnson played clutch minutes, and he played well. He played tenacious D down the stretch, especially against James Harden. LA ties the game with 45 seconds left in regulation. And you're thinking maybe they can shake themselves out of this rut they're in. But then Claxton, with a spectacular slam dunk on the King's head. Look out, King. And one. Brooklyn now by 3. 40 seconds to go. And then Russ, Russ, blows the left-hand jam. And now it's the foul game. And once LBJ misses that last second 3, the deal is done. LA has now lost a season-high 5 games in a row. And their record is now 16-18. Final score 122-115. LeBron James and Harden essentially cancel each other out scoring-wise. But there was no one else who could offset Patty Mills, who balled out. So, LA gets, and in turn gives, another lump of coal for Christmas. Final numbers. LeBron James, 39 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists in 40 minutes. And those minutes are high, ladies and gentlemen. And the word the day after the Christmas game is that LeBron James is probable for the next game coming up against Houston with an abdominal strain. So he is on the injury report. 40 minutes in a loss, it's too much for a 37-year-old superstar to handle, to bear. You can't expect he's going to be able to hold up over the long haul, over the grind. Russ had a triple-double, believe it or not, against the Nets. 13 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists. And he only had 3 turnovers. So if you just look at the numbers, it doesn't seem like he had that bad of a game. But the inefficiency is where it really reared its head for Russ this game. Russ shot 4 out of 20. Ow! 4 out of 20 from the field. And 0 for 3 from 3. That stinks. Melo contributed 17 points and 11 boards. Monk came back with 20 points. IT did not play coach's decision, and the word coming out of the Christmas Day game is that IT will not be offered another 10-day contract, so his time with the Lakers is drawing to a close. And Rondo, we learn, has now been added to COVID health and safety protocols, and so he will not be available for the next few games to be determined. Although you have to say, especially if you've been watching my Where's Rondo previous episodes, he wasn't getting any run anyway. And I saw where A Laker reporter just recently stated that that this was sort of the plan going in, that Rondo and the coaching staff sort of had an understanding that Rondo wasn't going to play that much and he was going to be more like a coach, an extension of the coaching staff. And that's what I've been seeing. Him walking along the sidelines in his tracksuit, engaged, but not looking like he's going to play at all. And so apparently this is something that they've agreed upon, that this is what they wanted to do with Rondo. But why? I don't know when you need help. Anyway, I hope Rondo's well, and then I hope he gets back safe and sound from the protocols ASAP. Next up. Next up. Well, does it really matter who's next up for these Lakers? Any team in the NBA can whip the Lakers. That is for sure. So, the Crypto.com era began the same way the Staples Center era ended, with another Laker L. Will the Lakers even make the playoffs? 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 I wonder. Based on the data, the evidence that I'm seeing, it's starting to look like a long shot. So it could very well be that this team won't even make the play-in tournament the way they're playing now. Can the Lakers turn it around? Will the King be able to get the support he so desperately needs before he burns himself out? What about trades? I think I was wrong about the energy vampire, the rubber band man Robin, because no, AD hasn't played well this year and barely played well last year. And no, AD is not on the tier with Giannis or the Joker or even Cat. And no, AD leaves a lot to be desired in terms of energy and leadership and consistency, determination and will and drive, all of it. But AD isn't the reason why this team loses. This team loses with AD, it loses without AD. Same with Russ. It's not just Russ. Yeah, Russ, he's very inefficient, 4 out of 20 from the field and over 3. He's turnover prone, leading the league in turnovers. He doesn't play a lot of defense, and he doesn't play it consistently. And so there's a lot of holes in Russ's game, but Russ isn't the reason these Lakers lose. These Lakers lose with the King or without the King. The King has put up 30-plus points in 4 consecutive games. Over the last 8, he's leading the league in scoring. And they're 3-5. And so the King can't elevate this team. So it seems to me the ugly culture of losing has settled in over Lakerland. The buzzards are circling, and the crypto seems to be an unfortunate but appropriate name. These are the tales from the crypto as the basketball turns. Next up, Houston. I guess it's really not that hard to figure out why they're so bad. And when you add it all up and then sprinkle in the final ingredient, they're old as water. This is where we are in Lakerland. Throw me one of these. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We will continue to monitor the goings on with the LA Lakers, despite their abysmal showing so far. And until next time, my folks, Scotty says, one love.